Hey guys, how you doing?
Good morning.
Morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yes,
Yeah,
we're in the beginning of January, which is crazy.
I time flies. I cannot believe it's 2025, but
Sure
Uh,
does. So new year and new opportunity to, tackle that to-do list, that
there you
never-ending to-do list. I'm sure you guys have that too.
there you
yeah.
And
go.
I thought it might be interesting to talk about, and this may be on some people's to-do list, is, applying for life insurance. Like maybe you don't have it for your family or for your business. So I thought that might be a good topic to discuss with our viewers. And I know Katie, you recently applied for life insurance for you and your family. So what do you guys think? You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we should start with Greg and why life insurance is so important. Let's
Yeah.
start there.
Yeah, and I guess this is one of the things where I feel like it compared to other insurance like long-term care, disability, this is a more people assume that they need it, so it's less of a challenge to get over that. Well, I don't need it. I'm bulletproof. This isn't going to happen to me. So that is a challenge, or could be a challenge for life insurance. So the very first step that in the financial planning process is basically pretending that the person passes away tomorrow and what happens.
And that's really
Uh,
hard for people. It's kind of like a morbid conversation, and a lot of people may not want to even go there, but it's super important. So kind
yeah,
of
and
shifting that
and
mindset.
it is. It's emotional. It's
Yeah.
mental. People don't want to you know consider their own morbidity.
Hmm.
To your point, so you definitely have to get over that hump. And I usually just say something crass or just deal with it. Something like that. Just because I have the spouse right there who is also extremely concerned and they'll back me up, right? And then we have to turn the tables, and the other spouse has to pass away tomorrow. So once you get over that hump and they say, yeah, you're right, let's spend some time on it and qualify how much they need and how to structure, I like to look at debt, current debt that they have, current debt that they are going to assume in the near future, if they're looking for a second house, applying for college, business loan, whatever, you have to consider that over the next couple of years if they've made that decision. So, and then who's relying on you? So if both spouses are employed, then there's probably a little bit less death benefit needed. If if the one spouse that survives doesn't currently work outside the home. Because the one comment I like to make is, yes, Mr. or Mrs. Spouse, you could go get another job, right? You could go find employment, but are you going to be the best version of yourself when your spouse just passed away?
Yeah.
So let's plan to have enough money, financial resources, so you do not have to go back to work, either right away or ever. You may, but you don't know what you're going to do after your spouse passes, or your
Right.
kid or your parents. So that's a big one. So any current debt, assumed future debt, and then who's relying on you, whether it's the spouse, whether it's the kids that are still on the payroll, so to speak. We'd like to try to get them through college and assume that they're going to be financially secure on their own post college
Mhm.
with no debt. So that's kind of how you qualify how much you need. And then there's the whole, probably this is a different step, but how do you structure
Right.
the life insurance, which I
Right.
think we could do in a different um, video, because
Yeah.
that's a topic in and of itself. So let's just assume that we know how to structure it. I mentioned a little bit about the death benefit. So Katie, since you just went through it, what is the process once you define how much you need and the type? What's the next step?
Yeah, well, I'm an interesting case too in this because I actually reshopped my insurance, which I think is an important thing to talk about too. I had originally got insurance the same way you talked about, right? I sat my husband down and I said, "What are you going to do if I die?" I work in the field, so it was easy for me to kind of take on that morbidity that we talk about. And he was like, "Well, I don't know." So once I sold him on that and we just picked the amount, we looked through went through the steps you talked about. I got some insurance, but candidly, my dad passed away before the age of 60, before he turned 60. So that actually dinged my health record. I was fortunate enough, knocking on wood, that I didn't have any other health issues at the time, but that put me at a lower rating. And I worked with our back office. I found out that there was a different insurance company that waived that. And so I reshopped it. And it was kind of like going through the brand new process, but then I had to terminate an old policy. And so what fit for my family was term insurance, just for the need and the time length and everything like that. But it was really super simple. I had a good experience, I think. I think some can be a little tricky, but really you get a call. Somebody came to my house. We completed a health kind of survey where I answered some questions. I think they did some labs, and then I also think they may have taken my height and weight, but super simple. And that mitigated a phone interview. Sometimes they opt for phone interviews over an in-person interview. And then it was really just a matter of them going through underwriting, right? These underwriters at these different companies, you sign some forms along with your application, allowing them to look through your medical history. They looked through it, they came back with a decision. In this case, it was great. I went from a standard rating with no health issues because of my dad to a preferred plus, which was pretty great. And then I got to not only save on my premium, but then I re-extended my term, right? Because I restarted. So I think it's always worth looking at every couple years, seeing if your health changed. Did you lose weight? Did you have a previous health issue that's went away? Do you just need to re-extend that term because you've taken on more obligations? So it's not too bad of a process most of the time. I think it's pretty easy, and that's what we're here for, to help make it that smooth. But I think it's a I think it's a really great thing to look and protect your family. It's hard to think about, like you said, but ultimately, I would much rather think about my own morbidity and my family being okay than ignoring it and them being, not okay.
Right. And one thing I wanted to mention, the amount of insurance and then the age, there might be additional requirements that Katie, you didn't mention, and I'll just throw out EKG, where
Mm-hmm.
you have older people and higher death benefit. The insurance company may want an EKG in addition to the blood and the urine that they test for everything. So depending on age, depending on amount, the medical requirements might be different. And you mentioned underwriting. They like to tap the medical records from your doctor. If you have multiple doctors, that can extend the process. So the best, I guess, mindset to have is include all the doctors on the application if you want to make it swift and smooth, because it can be a long underwriting period if the insurance company continues to find things and they have to go to another doctor. Then you got to wait for records, and then whatever those records say might prompt more questions. So it's necessary, and we want to make it as smooth as possible, but just trying to manage expectations. Some move a whole lot faster than others.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did want to mention that, our firm, we kind of hold your hand throughout the whole process. We're like your middleman between, the underwriters, and you. So like anything that we need, we keep you updated, in particular the operations department, insurance department here at our firm. So, keeping you in the know and keeping you up to date. But like Greg said, every insurance company is a little bit different. So sometimes it could move a little bit faster, other times not so much. But that's why it's important to talk with a financial professional that offers these services so that, we can kind of hold your hand throughout the process, because it can get a little or very overwhelming,
Yeah.
even to get started, like Greg talked about. So this
Well,
was really
Julie,
good.
you bring up a great point because depending on the insurance company, they all have different nuances of which client they're going to accept and issue a policy or offer a policy to. So if you do have a medical condition, some insurance companies are more favorable than others.
Mm-hmm.
So there is another term called field underwriting, which is if you had cancer in the past, or you had diabetes, or if you have high cholesterol, Some insurance companies might be look more favorably on that condition than others. So that's also one of our jobs, is to work with our company that we use for this insurance, who has a great deal of knowledge on the preferences, so to speak, of the different insurance companies. So then we can place you with the right company.
Right. And setting the expectation for the client is a real thing. You go to some of these like one-stop shops that seemingly one-stop shops, and you're stuck with whatever their rates are and their underwriting team is. So not to boost ourselves, but folks like us, we shop multiple carriers. So we have access to different stuff for your health ratings or just different premiums if you're fortunate enough to be vanilla health with no problems. And ideally every underwriting should go the same. There's still different rates for different companies just because of that. So that ability, I think, is something folks should look out for too as they want to shop life insurance.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome.
All right, well, this was
Thanks,
great.
Great
Zach.
information.
Obviously, any questions, let us know. Happy to answer, walk you through, help determine whether you have enough, if you need more, whether you can cancel. Um, that's a major part of the financial planning process.
Good deal. All
All
right.
right, guys.
See you
All right,
guys.
have a good
Yeah.
one.
Bye-bye.